Haley Norris, realtor.
No.
Should I make my hair go like this? Whether you need to buy, sell, or lease. Haley, can I use my hands? Or is that, where are my hands? Where do they go?
Just say,
Haley.
Just say Haley.
Whether you need my expertise. Haley Norris, realtor. Or even do a commercial lease. Haley Norris, realtor. Should I say Remax Real Estate Center or no? Is that too salesy?
No, that's good.
My average days on market is just 50 days. You need my expertise. And that means I'm putting more money back in your pocket.
A short time ago at the Jonesboro Nominating and Rules Committee's specially called meeting that was tonight at the City Council chambers at the Municipal Center in Jonesboro, a resolution was adopted, a resolution promoting diversity. It should be a relatively easy argument, but it wasn't because at least 2 City Council members seemed to vocally oppose the idea of diversity whenever it was brought up at a meeting last month. When it was brought up at the City Council meeting by a black City Council member. Immediately following that, a member of the City Council for 16 years, John Street, began, as some would call it, mansplaining, but it was basically telling the City Councilman David McClain, the chair of the committee, that he couldn't speak out against the mayor. It was a bizarre statement. The statement was that their job was to vote yes or no, and nothing else. But that's not right. And Mr. Street may have learned that since then. If he hasn't, he'll learn it eventually, because it was that very question that was issued by McClain that prompted the mayor to appoint a female and a black male to the board that was in discussion that was, yet again, going to be all white men. And despite the way things have always been done, as what the Councilmember David McClain attributes that as, Street's behavior, and some of his statements as well, were very curious and bordered along the lines of institutional racism. Bobby Long's questions seem to lack a complete understanding of why diversity is important. We'll talk about what the story is tonight, which is, of course, that the meeting that just took place a short time ago resulted in the passage of the resolution and also the confirmation, or at least the furthering on to the confirmation process of the appointments to that board, the Wolverine Downtown Development Board we talked about. But we're also going to talk about last month's minutes and how those minutes showed institutional racism. An old white council member telling a black council member that he shouldn't be speaking up because he promoted diversity. Absolutely unacceptable. That is next in a special report on NEA Report. Many described a stunning moment at the Nomination and Rules Committee meeting last month for the city of Jonesboro. It was on June 19th that Chairmember David McClain said in the meeting minutes we're showing you right now that he wanted to bring up the discussion of diversity. Specifically, he said, I asked that we add 2 additional names due to the fact that this board is a great board, but it's not diverse at all. Well, it took Councilmember John Street a couple of seconds to decide to speak up against that idea. He said, I'd like to say that I've been here 16 years, and pretty much, regardless of the mayor, it's always been their prerogative to name those. They have always put out, I think, and Mayor Parent has too, that if you want to nominate somebody for these various boards, you submit that name to him. That's what he was doing, Mr. Street. But you didn't realize that when you, a white male, continued to talk down to the black city council member about an issue of race. Something that a white male will never understand as well as a black man can, because, speaking from experience as a lifetime of being a white male, we don't know what it's like to be treated differently because our skin color. In America, if you're white, you're treated normally. That's the standard. If you're black, you're treated differently in different interactions. A simple traffic stop might be a little bit more of a butt chewing. Sometimes. A small arrest might result in someone, say Judge Keith Blackman, setting a bond twice or 3 times as much that as a white person who's arrested right before you. That's not a hypothetical, by the way. Anyway, diversity is important. And John Street seemed to miss that. He said, I've seen some things where I thought maybe somebody should be on board, but that's technically not, by our rules, a council prerogative. He said, Mayor Perrin is free to do that if you tell him somebody and you'd like that known, but pretty much our job is just to vote it up or down. That's what John Street's job is. To just vote yes or no, and nothing else. At least that's what he says. And I'm going to talk just in a moment to chair member and council member David McClain. He was far kinder than I think I would have been in that setting, but he also persisted, and his persistence paid off because now it's going to be a little bit different. 2 names were added to that list, a woman and a black male. That wasn't the only thing that came out of McClain speaking up. In addition to that, L.J. Bryant proposed a resolution passed tonight that basically, in summary of not reading the entire thing to you right now, promoted diversity and said that the city council understood why that was important. Because it's important. That was passed tonight. But we didn't get here absent of a little bit of resistance. We're going to talk about that now with Councilmember David McClain, who's the chair of the Nominating and Rules Committee in Jonesboro, and who was told, in essence, his job was to agree or vote no with the mayor. But that's not his job. We'll tell you what he thought of those comments now. It struck me as, just to be frank, offensive when you're trying to discuss diversity and kind of the problem that you're trying to promote a solution to pops up, which is that you know one of the older white people on the committee tries basically to tell you that we don't question the mayor.
Right.
I mean, first of all, you didn't. I got to give you props because you didn't back down, obviously, and so that's props for that. But I mean, did you feel at that time, or do you feel now that was kind of an effort to kind of hush you up from speaking up?
I think that most of it just comes down to. I don't know if that was an effort to hush me up. I mean, I'm as chair. I mean, or even as a member of the council, I feel it's my job to be the voice of folks that put me in this place.
Sure.
So my board, the city doesn't look like it did, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so no matter the attempt, I'm still going to speak and do what I think is best by the people. So I wasn't worried about that. I wanted to get something done, but I wasn't able to that day. But I don't know if I felt like it was an attempt to hush me. Knowing what I know now, hopefully we'll get something done differently next time when there is another opportunity for another board or commission to have appointments. So I'll do my best, keep working, and see if I can make that happen. But I don't know if I felt like it was an attempt to hush me. I think it was just, hey, this is how we've done it for so long, and we want to keep doing it this way.
Understand, and I respect that, and let's talk about the future, because obviously that's what our mutual goals are in all of our work, whether we're on either side of the political aisle or whatever. So you do have a resolution tonight. Are you going to support the resolution here in just a short time?
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I figured you would. Just was going to ask. I would imagine you expect it to pass. Is that the expectation?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would. I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, this it makes sense for us as a city, where we're going and where we're headed. We need to make sure this is in place. And for me, I honestly would like to see it maybe be have a little more teeth to it.
Sure.
And so we'll see what happens here in about 13 minutes.
Yeah, I understand. And just a last question here. I did get the information that there was a couple of adjustments made on the nomination to the board with Andrea Allen and with the pastor from the Word Campus Church, Mr. Jamar. I don't have his last name in front of me.
Andrews.
Yes, sir. Andrews. Thank you. Apologies on that.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Do you think that helped at least the issue that you brought up?
I mean, it provides, it provides a couple of people who have perspective. One that has a church and cares about the people in that area, in North Jonesboro, and the other has economic development background, which I think would be very valuable. And so those were. One of them was one of the names I actually wanted to nominate before, and wasn't able to do that. But hey, we got they're there now, so we'll go on. But yeah, I think those would be two good people to have on there.
Is there anything else you'd like to throw in or add to this, or say to the as far as the debate goes or discussion?
No, and again, I think for me going forward, it makes sense for us as a city to make sure we include folks that are different, race and economic backgrounds and age. I mean, all the different things, because we have to understand that our world, our country, our state's changing, and we got to be able to attract people from all over. And if we're going to seriously move forward, then we really have to be serious about having a diverse leadership within the city, within different boards and commissions that represent the city. So it's important too. So we got to make sure we do it.
Chairman of the Nominating and Rules Committee and Jonesboro City Council member David McClain, thank you, sir. Appreciate you taking a couple minutes to talk to me.
No problem. Have a good one.
So I do want to mention, because we did tape that interview going in at about 4:30 to the Nominating and Rules Committee meeting, that the diversity issue did pass, along with the appointments. More on that in just a moment. We are now joined on the phone right now with Jonesboro City Alderman Bobby Long, whom we spoke about just a few moments ago, and we're going to talk to him a little bit more about diversity and about his vote tonight, in addition to some of the other issues we've mentioned. Just want to jump right into some of the stuff that we were reporting on earlier today. You mentioned you haven't had a chance, so I just want to brief you in quick. Our reporting earlier today, we were going through the minutes of last month's City Council's Nominating and Rules Committee meeting. And when Chair Member David McClain brought up the diversity suggestion, it seemed as though Council Member John Street was efforting at least an explanation that it was not the job of those on that committee to question the mayor. And so, in addition to that, I had noticed there was a couple of questions that you had posed in the minutes also to Mr. McClain too. So I was just kind of wanting to speak with you a little bit about that, and I suppose tonight you've already voted on it, so we can also talk about that as well.
Sure.
Okay, great, cool, thank you. And let me ask you first, you voted for the, I think, the diversity resolution tonight, is that right?
Yes, it was a resolution. It wasn't an ordinance, so it was a resolution. And when you put things out there for discussion, I think that it needs to be discussed and needs to be vetted. I mean, I'm not against, having diversity on any committee or any appointment that the mayor makes. And I think the mayor, does as good a job as he can from the pool of applicants that he has, on first of all making sure that the people that are appointed, have a knowledge base, that can get done what needs to be done. I think diversity, like I say, diversity is the thing that makes this country great. A lot of diverse ideas and a lot of diverse ways of looking at things, a lot of ways, that people approach problems or that find solutions. Those are the types of diversity I believe that, that has made this country and this city great. So yes, I'm all for diversity, but I also believe, that diversity for diversity's sake, is not necessarily a good thing.
So, do you believe we should go out of our way to make sure that African American or black people are represented, or females are represented, if, for instance, we're not?
Do I think we should go out of our way?
For the sake of diversity.
Okay. Let me ask you, well, here's what I would have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say, out of the pool of applicants, my first priority is to make sure that we have the best possible candidate, whether they be black, Asian, African American, you name it, male, female, that we get the best candidate for that position. And I said this, as a matter of fact, I've even been asked this question before. They said, you know what, there's another candidate that happens to be a female, and if we want to make this particular portion of a company, more diverse, tell me why I would not hire her over you. And my response to that was, if that person is a better candidate, then choose them. However, if your choice is dependent on whether or not I'm a male or female, then I'm not for sure if I want the job anyway. Because when it all comes down to it, the value that I bring isn't whether or not I'm a male or female. It's the character, integrity, the thought process, and decision-making skills, and the knowledge base that I can bring to a certain idea or project. And to choose one candidate over another because of the color of their skin, I think does more to hurt that other candidate than it does to help.
But these aren't necessarily private jobs we're talking about. We're talking about committees that are going to make decisions that are representative of the public. And so, in that sense, are we not running the risk of underrepresenting certain groups, such as the African American community, if we aren't putting people that would only understand issues that an African American would understand from having lived like that they have lived, that folks like you and I cannot never understand? Aren't we missing that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point of view, and I welcome that, and I totally understand that there are only points of view that can be understood, by walking in someone's shoes. And there's people's shoes that I will never ever be able to walk in, because I'm a male, I'm white.
I know the feeling.
And other things. So hey, you know what? I'm all for it.
Sure.
So I'm not saying that I was against it. As a matter of fact, I voted for it.
Yes, you did.
What I wanted to do, though, is to bring up that discussion, and to make sure, first of all, I wanted to make sure that whatever we voted for, first of all, didn't pigeonhole us into having to make decisions or appointments based on certain criteria, that may or may not be, well suited for the job. And here's the thing about it. Just because I'm white doesn't make me more suited for a job than someone that's black or Asian or, whatever.
Right.
The qualifications for the job should stand alone. And if there's a person that's of a different nationality or a different gender than I am, then they're better suited, then by all means, go for it. I'm all for it. I will never be one, to get mad over or to get upset or think that I've been slighted in any way, because someone better suited for the job, gets that committee appointment or gets that, position, over me. If they're more suited, then hey, that's fine. More power to them. So yeah, I voted for the resolution. I just wanted to make it clear that, I don't think that the resolution, is going to actually change how appointments are going to be made, because I feel that, first of all, if the mayor has an appointment and we have somebody that we feel would be a good addition, he is always accommodating as far as, looking in and seeing if they're willing to serve on that committee. So I'm just not for sure, how much of a change in appointments it's going to make, because I think that the resolution itself, is just an affirmation of the council's, commitment, to diversity, and to make sure that the people that we put on are not put on just because they're black or white or male or female, but they're put on there as a wider scope. Of course, you're not going to put somebody on the committee just because they're a different nationality or race. You're going to put somebody on the committee because of their abilities, and their diverse, viewpoints. So yeah, I don't see anything wrong with the resolution that was passed tonight.
Would you, I know, and this is the last question I've got for you, but I appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to talk to me here. Excuse me. I know that there was a little bit of discussion. The idea was floated, at least by L.J. Bryant, when I spoke with him earlier today, about possibly looking at a resolution in the future that might be more restrictive, that might force diversity. For every certain number of picks, say, of males, you would have to pick a female. Are you opposed to something that would actually restrict what the mayor, his decision would be in the process?
First of all, I'd have to look at the ordinance that comes through. Second of all, just on the onset, I don't know that on the onset, I would probably say that I would be hard pressed to be, I'd be hard pressed to approve something that would say, okay, for every male you got to have a female on the board. For every black person you got to have a white person before, but then you got to say, well, then we need to have one of these, one of this, and the next thing you know, we're choosing our committees based on the color of the skin instead of the character of the heart, and I don't know that is a good way to do that. I think that I don't know that would be the right way to do it. I would much rather be judged for the character of who I am than for the color of my skin, and I think that anybody worth their salt, or has any type of self-worth would feel the same.
Thank you, sir, for taking a couple of minutes to talk to us tonight. We greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I was just trying to consider how I'm going to say all these different names as I explained to you what happened tonight, and it's basically a futile effort, as the board would say. So here's how I will try to approach it. The Wolverine Property Committee, that one, tonight's appointments to that, or so to speak, the recommendations, they have been sent along to the full City Council by the Nominating and Rules Committee, which had their specially called meeting tonight. I hope I've not confused everybody yet. If I haven't, I still have you good. Because they also passed a resolution, as we mentioned, the diversity resolution, supporting of diverse citizens of Jonesboro community in their civic duty of public service. And yes, Councilmember John Street, in addition to Bobby Long, as we mentioned earlier, both supported this.
Family Medical Clinic of Walnut Ridge and Bono are your neighborhood healthcare providers, and we're now accepting new patients. We know you have a tight schedule, so we're here 6 days a week at both locations from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Walk-ins are welcome. In Walnut Ridge, stop by 1045 West Main Street or call us to make an appointment, 886-8300. In Bono, we're on Highway 63 North or call 930-9990. Walnut Ridge Family Medical Clinic and Bono Family Medical Clinic, here for you when you need us.
It's time for us to take a look at your new Wave Wireless forecast, home with a $49 iPhone screen repair, and a big shout out, by the way, to my friends, the French family, who just welcomed a brand new addition into the world this morning. We love it. to pass along the good news in the fun little way there in the weather. So let's talk about the weather, shall we? A heat advisory in effect until 8 p.m. tonight, and a 30% chance of some showers and thunderstorms. The weather forecast says mainly before 7 p.m. I think we're probably seeing a few in Jonesboro right about now. Otherwise, tonight, you're going to have a few clouds out there, a low around 74. 40% chance for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow with a high now around near 90. Thursday, 20% chance of thunderstorms, partly sunny with a high near 91. And Friday, 30% chance with a high around 95. Warmer, and it's probably going to be humid and nasty feeling on Friday, too. Mostly sunny Saturday with a high near 92. Sunny Sunday, and no precipitation until next Tuesday. At the moment in Jonesboro, I think I mentioned, but we do have that heat advisory until 8 p.m. We also have about 89 degrees out there right now. Finally, tonight, I got to give a big shout out to some folks who are very proud of themselves, and understandably so. It's a big transition period right now for Williams Baptist University, who just got their brand new sign in Lawrence County. Okay, it's a new sign, a lot of you are saying, but think about this. They're going from having a college, which was a relatively big college, to now being able to lay claim to having a university in Lawrence County. Another university in Northeast Arkansas. That's great news for everybody. And so a big shout out to them. And all of the hard work that they're probably having to put in to put some of these signs up, as they have stayed busy and also launched their new website. I believe that was last week that we got that press release. It may have been yesterday. It's been a busy week already. Very possible to have those confused. Thanks for joining us on NEA Report and Stan Morris Reporting. We'll see you back here again when our next broadcast airs, which may not be tomorrow, because we deserve a day off, especially after working a little extra hard over the weekend. But we will be back here again as soon as breaking news breaks out. As always, we will break in. Thank you for following us. Be sure to follow us and make sure you have live video notifications on Facebook, and check us out and subscribe on YouTube as well. I'm Stan Morris, and you're up to date.